Anyway, so Mr. Plenković, you, of course, as a Croatian, you might have a thing or two to say about your experiences, the experiences of integrating your country after the war.
Thank you very much, Heidi. I think we've touched on a number of issues which all need to be analyzed in the context of the war situation, which is a very, very specific situation. When you make the polls like this and what you presented, it's clearly understandable that 99% of people living in Donbass will say it's unbearable for the facts of life that are there, for the conflict, but also for the overall atmosphere, which is very, very much influenced by media. There is the whole, let's say, media war, propaganda war, which is going on there, which amplifies the atmosphere among the people. Ambassador Stokel knows what I'm talking about because he's Slovenian. And this is difficult actually to understand from someone who is not there and who hasn't been in the similar situation. This is a very specific context. Even the decision makers are making decisions under a lot of stress, pressure and considerations which are far from a normal, sober atmosphere, for instance, as we have here today. This is a different ballgame. The questions of the legal responsibility. This, I think, is of long-term strategic importance for today for Ukraine. You said in Moldova the investigations were not done. I think the matter of jurisdiction is one of the essential issues here. Things which are happening on the territory of Ukraine, as it is, of course, internationally recognized, are under the jurisdiction of the legal authorities of that country. And that means that Ukrainian police, Ukrainian prosecutors, all sorts of relevant services should collect data about all violations, war crimes, violations of humanitarian law, of human rights, etc., have happened so far. They need to have it documented. In order to find a peaceful solution, one of the elements which was mentioned already twice in Minsk is amnesty. Extremely important. It's like the key confidence building measure. We might stay still within this, under the same roof. But amnesty cannot apply to the worst war crimes under the international criminal law. There is no amnesty for such crimes. And this is also important. So, from the experience of my country, I think that the reintegration of the occupied territories into the constitutional and legal order of Ukraine or Moldova or Georgia can happen only over time with multiple confidence-building measures, but with strongly engaged international mechanisms and assistance. This is the key combination. This is the key combination. Issues such as who finance, let's say, the social rights, the pensions, the health, etc. These are, in a war context, very quickly to say, well, they are destroying our country, they want to go away, let's close. They will close the gas, we will close the transfers. On a long run, all of this should be put in a package, and elements like this can bring back the normality. Very important. This is, even though it's difficult, but this is very important. And therefore, the comprehensive package, which includes, first, sustainable ceasefire, calming down of the situation, trust into the international organizations which are there to ensure the international borders. This is essential. That's why it's important to reinforce the OSCE SMM, which is now in Ukraine, to have enough people, enough equipment, enough means to fulfill its task, and to have a proper support of those in the field. If you have obstruction, you can't do anything. If they go to sleep and overnight things happen which are contrary to the international law, there is no fulfillment of this mission. So, in my view, it should be done with a lot of strong political will, comprehensive catalogue of measures, strong international assistance, but from a legal point of view, the country that has jurisdiction has to do the work. There is, of course, the international aspect. There is the ICC issue as well. We are in a different time. the Rome Statute dates from 98. Your events happened in 92. We were subject to the ICTY as a special ad hoc international criminal tribunal. There is the acquis of this court. There is the ICTR as well. The international criminal law has advanced a lot. And I think for the state concerned, and that is Ukraine, a lot of responsibility is now on its state organs to collect all the data, initiate the processes, and keep them there. And then we will see what falls into the amnesty, if it's a smaller thing, and what cannot be forgotten, but it needs to be processed. And this is, I think, the key element of jurisdiction and of the legal action. You see how much we all react to the fact that Nadia Savchenko has been illegally taken and brought to Ukraine on the basis of, or to Russia on the basis of what?
Yeah.
Extension of jurisdiction in international law. We have such a case currently going on because, for instance, Serbia, who was, let's say, in analogy in a similar situation that we perceive Russia today in the war of the 90s in the former Yugoslavia, extended jurisdiction to territory of all the former Yugoslavia. Based on which international rule? How can you selectively extend jurisdiction? It's not a universal jurisdiction as a subsidiary tool to process Pinochet in front of the credible legal systems in the EU. It's a different thing. It can be, the legal instruments can be really abused sometimes for political gains, as you said, Heidi, at this point. So all of these elements should be taken into consideration. And my point is the strong international assistance, but by all the key institutions. You know, Council of Europe has its role to play, OSCE has its role to play, EU has its role to play, and the UN has its role to play, even though it's difficult with the still composition of 1945 for the Security Council. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Andrei. I think this was extremely enlightening and